Hello guys, with the war in Ukraine, Russians have broken a number of records, but not the records they expected. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, which is not a subjective Ukrainian NGO, but an American think tank, right now Russia demonstrates the slowest advance in over a century of modern warfare. To get 15 meters of Ukrainian territory per day, they sacrifice 1,000 soldiers per day, 35,000 per month. And now when we have the new Minister of Defense, we have a new KPI which states 50,000 per day. And I'm sure the Kremlin is prepared to pay such price and also keep destroying their own economy way faster than they destroy the front lines. And when you hear some good people pushing Ukraine to surrender, saying that we need to sacrifice our territories in Donetsk region for the sake of a ceasefire, please remind them that with all billions burned on missiles and shells, with all the soldiers sacrificed, in 2025 Russia managed to get less than 1% of the Ukrainian territory. Of course, every inch is precious, but please compare what they sacrifice and what they get. More and more Russian vloggers now openly beg Putin to stop it because he literally destroys their budget while he gets nothing. 10 kilometers deeper inside Ukraine during these last 2 years with, you all know, 1,200,000 soldiers gone and billions of dollars taken out of Russian banks and thus of the pockets of ordinary Russians. So please, I consider this lesson of mathematics extremely important, so share these videos. And my name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine. If you want to see the only working peace plan that's been implemented to defeat and demilitarize Russia, subscribe. And let's begin with these extremely important numbers. So according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Russia right now demonstrates the slowest advance in over a century of modern warfare, which is even worse than in times of the First World War. And we were all brought up on those movies where soldiers spent months in the trenches doing nothing or waiting for the decisions of commanders, and all seemed extremely irrational. Right now it is even worse, but extremely modernized because we have drones and drones control the front lines. If you follow maps, you might have noticed they are not moving. Right now, Putin tries to terrorize civilians by targeting energy infrastructure, gas infrastructure, freezing us, and constantly failing. For example, today I've spent a couple of hours in the corridor while the Russian drones were flying over my city. We managed to shoot them down, and believe me, we all know spring will come and Russia will be defeated. That is not a victory strategy, and not a victory strategy to choose to sacrifice 1,000 soldiers per day for the sake of 15 meters of the Ukrainian territory. Once again, Putin tries to use this fake image of the Russian Federation. Literally centuries of their lies and propaganda, because they repeat similar messages since the times of the Russian Empire, then in the Soviet Union, now in the Russian Federation. But all they managed to get in 2024 was 0.6% of the Ukrainian territory, in 2025 0.8%. And that is why Putin now tries to push this agreement, which of course the Kremlin will never respect, and tomorrow or the next months they will come up with a different idea why they need to liberate either Ukraine or another European country. But he literally pushes Trump to push us to give him the territory which he cannot get militarily. We cannot get this territory with his troops. So please never repeat this BS that the concession on the Putin side is that he will not get Kyiv. If he could, he would. At the beginning of the full-scale invasion, all the Russian soldiers believed this would be a blitzkrieg with full control over Ukraine, including my city in the western Ukraine. They cannot get Kyiv, they cannot get Kharkiv, they cannot get Odessa, they cannot get Kupiansk, and they start pushing various narratives, threatening, tweeting, doing what they can best to persuade Ukrainians to surrender, to persuade Ukrainians to give up territories for the sake of what? Let's be realistic. There are no working security guarantees. Right now, there are no trustworthy alliances. There are friends and partners who help us fight, who helped us survive at the very beginning of this invasion, but no one in Ukraine will give up our extremely well-fortified territories in the Donetsk region, our people in the Donetsk region, for the sake of the next attack of Putin and his explanation that either Ukraine violated something or he put down Kherson region in the constitution. But also remember that they keep failing. They destroyed, ruined Russian economy. They've sold 71% of their gold reserves. So they have nothing left in the banking system. They have nothing left in various programs that they could cut for the sake of this war budget. So they started selling physical gold. That is the last step in every decision. So they sacrificed more than 1,200,000 soldiers. They stopped maintaining infrastructure in the Russian regions. They destroyed businesses, whole industries like construction, metallurgy. They destroyed Lukoil, which now begs the support from the federal budget, which I don't need to remind you is empty. So they've lost their geopolitical influence. Putin failed to support Maduro, failed to support Syrian Assad. Now he cannot support Iran. What about his idea of the multipolar world? It is totally destroyed by the Ukrainian armed forces, by the resilience of the Ukrainian people. So honestly, now even Russian vloggers who supported the idea of war, who share Putin's imperial attitudes, beg him to stop. Because, come on, 1,200,000 soldiers sacrificed. That means nothing for the Kremlin. Unfortunately, that means nothing for the Russian population. I don't see people speaking about that. But I see millions of Russians now talking about rising taxes, rising prices, inflation that eats these payments that Russian soldiers wanted so much. Also, they have a lot of problems with their utilities. And what they cause in Ukraine, these humanitarian troubles with the shelling of our infrastructure, they have in their own cities and villages because of negligence, because of poverty, because of empty regional budgets. And we see a lot of problems now shaking Russia from inside, and Putin does not have control over the situation anymore. This is obvious. And I believe any commander-in-chief of any, even most evil country, losing 1,200,000 soldiers for the sake of less than 1% of the other country's territory would definitely stop. Putin cannot. And you know why? Because the end of this war means the end of his regime, and he didn't have plan. He didn't have plan that his blitzkrieg could have failed. He now does not have plan on how to explain his failure to the Russian population that became even more poor, and to those millions of soldiers who got used to earning bloody money. So our task is to keep fighting, to remain resilient, not to betray each other, and to end the Kremlin's regime, and then we will see what happens. But there is no other solution to this problem, only to defeat and demilitarize Russia. And we are successful in that. Follow me on Anna Danilchuk for weekly updates, that my new YouTube channel, also X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord, and now Substack. The links in the description, same as the link to our merch shop, which turns you into our ambassadors, and I'm forever grateful for all the conversations that you hold in your countries, in your cities, to remind the world about our fight and the need to defeat and deliver justice to Putin. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channels, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!